Oftentimes throughout history, when a person, place, object inherits a name from a predecessor, they struggle to keep up with that namesake's legacy. However, today's subject for Worship Wednesday does not fail to live with her namesake, but arguably surpasses it. It's a brief history of USS Laffey, DD 724, of the Allen M. Sumner class, the ship that would not die. Now, both Laffeys, the previous one being of the Benson class, were named after Seaman Bartlett Laffey, a man who earned the Medal of Honor during the American Civil War for his bravery manning the guns during a fierce Confederate assault on Yazoo City, Mississippi. The previous Laffey, DD 459, had been sunk during one of the night battles of Guadalcanal, during which she more or less scraped the paint off Hiei's side, getting within 20 feet of her, firing her guns, firing her torpedoes, and ended up wounding the Japanese admiral leading the operation, Admiral Abe. Now, despite this valiant point blank brawl versus Hiei, along with Kirishima and two Japanese destroyers, Laffey was eventually put down by one of Hiei's 14-inch guns on November 13th, 1942. Continuing the tradition of honoring Seaman Laffey, and now the destroyer that bore his name, along with her crew, the 21st Allen M. Sumner class was also Seaman Laffey, and she was commissioned on February 8th, 1944. After commissioning, she spent some time until mid-May along the eastern seaboard of the U.S., doing some training, as well as serving as a school ship until May 14th, where she escorted a convoy across the Atlantic to England. On June 6th, 1944, Laffey arrived off Utah Beach and began bombarding the gun emplacements there, leaving briefly to resupply before returning to chase off attacking E-boats that torpedoed the destroyer USS Nelson. On June 25th, she joined USS Texas, Arkansas, and four other destroyers of Battle Group 2, bombarding the fortifications at Cherbourg. In the process, Laffey suffered some minor damage from a shell that had ricocheted. On July 9th, Laffey was in Boston being overhauled for a month before spending 2 weeks to adjust to her newly installed electronic equipment. After a quick stop in Norfolk, Laffey headed for the Pacific. After training in Pearl Harbor until late October, Laffey was off to join Task Force 38 in the assault on the Philippines. During this time, she served in the fleet screen. She also rescued a wounded Japanese pilot, who then she transferred to USS Enterprise. And during the landings at Ornik Bay, she destroyed a shore battery. After more work around the Philippines, Laffey went up to join Task Force 54 in the invasion of Okinawa. On April 15th, 1945, Laffey was off Okinawa and was subjected to one of the most fierce air and kamikaze attacks the war had seen. I can't cover the sheer scale of this attack, it's just a lot of detail and a little much for Worship Wednesday, but in the description, there'll be a link to Operations Room. They have an excellent video visualizing the attacks and just the sheer scale of it. I'll link it below. Highly recommend you watch it. But after being hit by 4 bombs and 6 kamikazes striking Laffey, along with strafing fire, that all this damage killed 32 and wounded 71 of her 336-man crew, Laffey still survived. When her assistant comms officer asked her captain if they would have to abandon ship, Captain Beckton snapped back at him, "No, I'll never abandon the ship as long as a single gun will fire." Afterwards, emergency repairs were done on Laffey, and Laffey made it to the west coast of the U.S., arriving in Tacoma, Washington, staying along the west coast after repairs and doing exercises until mid-October when she went back to Pearl Harbor. She remained there until May 21st, 1946, when she participated in Operation Crossroads, collecting scientific data, but not acting as a test ship. After an extensive decontamination process, Laffey sailed around the Pacific to various ports until she was decommissioned in June 30th, 1947. Laffey would reactivate for the Cold War, serving off Korea in the Mediterranean Sea and in the Persian Gulf until she was decommissioned for the final time on March 9th, 1975, being the last of the Sumner class to do so. Now, fortunately, Laffey decommissioned late enough and good enough condition to not share the same fate of many of her World War II compatriots, such as Enterprise, San Diego, and she was added to the Patriots Point Museum in 1978, joining USS Yorktown, and they can be visited there to this day. Now, on to Laffey's skills. For her first one, ready, raring, and motivated. She has summons she spawns, so I'm thinking these refer to electronic equipment upgrades she received before heading to the Pacific, making her a more advanced destroyer. And then Bun Bun Scout, referring to her time as a fleet screen and serving the radar screen, just keeping an eye on things. And then Fiercer when cornered, referring to Laffey's stand against the intense air attack, which she survived. Now for her quotes, she doesn't have too many for referencing her Alnum Sumner variant in her main lines, other than acknowledging that she is one now. But for a low HP, here's a quote that says, "As long as I can shoot, I won't give up," echoing her captain's words during the kamikaze attacks. And her post oath low HP line, she says, "The ship that would not die," referring to her nickname, "won't go down that easy," and talking about her nickname. There's a sortie line with USS Nevada. The two met up in Ireland after bombarding northern France, as well as Nevada was painted bright orange during Operation Crossroads and then nuked. So Laffey was also collecting data there. And she's a sorority line with Yorktown too, asking them to take a nap together, as the two now spend a peaceful life as museum ships. And she has sorority lines when sorting with her Allen and some of their class sister ships. So that's all I got for Laffey. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.